Hello and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION, the only Law and Order SVU video podcast, the longest running SVU after show. Also, it's the only place to find me and Taylor and usually Felicia every Sunday and sometimes other days talking about the greatest show of all time, Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Welcome, Taylor. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Felicia couldn't be here today. That's okay. She has thoughts that I'm sure she will love to share with us.
She said, listen, I'm not about to hear you babble on about the Elliot Olivia I love you, so I'm going to sit this one out.
Okay.
And I said I respect that.
Slow it down. We will get to all of that. Hello to everyone who's live in our chat. We're happy to have you here. Before we jump into season 22, episode 12, In the Year We All Fell Down, first of all, thank you to no one for telling me that I was missaying the episode title last week multiple times. Thanks.
It's long. It has a lot of letters, a lot of words.
That's true. Okay. If you've never seen our show before, you are in for a treat here on the S-Review podcast. We make jokes and they're not always funny, but sometimes they're offensive. So please be warned of that. That said, also, if you find yourself in a situation where you need help, please reach out to RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. Taylor, what does 4673 spell?
It spells hope.
It does, and as do the people at RAINN. Before we jump into season 22, episode 12, I know that we have no new episode next week. Wait till the end of our show and I will tell you what we are doing next week. I'm so stoked to tell you all about it. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. All right, but here is the quick cap for 22-12. In the year we all fell down. Benson walks into a hostage situation, shocker, in a neighborhood restaurant. Rollins tries to help her father after he's hospitalized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
That's what happens. Before we get into the nitty gritty, Taylor, what did you think of this episode? How did you feel?
Here's the thing. I know a lot of people were so mad when they read the synopsis, like another hostage situation. Unpopular opinion, I'm in the minority. I think they're so, I love watching hostage situations on TV because it's like so much tension. Like you're in one room, like you have to be so focused on the other person. Like just from like a writing story standpoint, I always think they're fun to watch and interesting. That said, this one didn't feel that suspenseful to me. I don't know if I'm the only one that felt that way. I never thought that Olivia was in like real danger, to be quite honest with you, despite, her pulling a gun, her pulling a knife. Like I always kind of thought that it would end up fine. Weirdly, I just kind of had that feeling through the whole time. And it wasn't an SVU case ever. Like not with Olivia, nor with like half the episode we spent in the hospital with Rollins. But for what it was, for it not being our SVU case with a bunch of twists and turns, I think it was interesting. It was like an interesting change from structure, I guess. So kudos to them for trying something different. I didn't hate it.
All right. I'll say this. I don't need twists and turns, right? I don't need surprises and really out there. I don't need it to go that way. As we know, there was some episode that I really liked and it was very straightforward, but it was interesting and fun. I need something to happen. Like that's what I need. And in this, not only did Ron's dad, who had a stroke, like he got worse. He didn't die. He didn't get better. He didn't, continue to have a cluster of mini strokes. Like none of that happened. And then over on the Olivia story, she and Vanessa talked the whole time. And I think the best part was when Olivia's like, "You're not going to shoot me." And Vanessa was like, "You don't know." Pretty sure she knows.
Right.
Like,
I think it did.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's interesting because I feel like there's a lot of discussion on should we show COVID on TV? Like, should we put that into the storyline? And I do think that this did capture like that feeling of, especially like small business owners probably feel. I saw like that be a response to that on social media when I was looking. So I feel like this will be an episode that we're not going to want to rewatch right away, but I think in a couple of years, it's like a time capsule in a way. I do think they did a good job of like capturing the moment, which is interesting and difficult to do. So I will give them kudos for that too.
Oh, absolutely. I felt like this episode really captured what this last year has been like. I love the progression of time, this chronological story. And I think that that's such an interesting way to tell the story. I don't know that I need it now because we are still in it, right? Like we're not out,
No.
and I like the hopeful message, but it reminds me of the episode where Stabler comes back, where I said, I don't know that this is going to be one of the episodes when I'm watching a marathon and this one's thrown in there that I go, oh yeah, this one, like, oh, what a fun ride, or what an exciting, like, oh, introduced a good twist or brought up an interesting concept that we discussed. This is an episode that I was like, oh, so depressing.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that year. It was horrific. And here's like all the things that could happen to this person did.
Right. They showed like every aspect of it with the son and the grandma and the husband. Like they showed every part of the toll that it could take on a person pretty much. So I feel like, yeah, it's not going to be one that you marathon, but this might sound stupid, but when your kids are like, oh, like, not that we're going to have kids, other people's kids are going to be like, oh, what was that like? You could whip this out and be like, this is what it was like, kind of, you know what I mean?
And I do like that. I feel like this would have been a really great episode, a little further along, maybe like, I don't know when, but a little further along when we're a little bit more distance and we can be like, wow, like it was such a challenging time. And this poor woman's business, and like a lot of people lost their business and are still losing. Like that's, I think my problem is that people are still dying. People are still losing their businesses. People are still doing school via Zoom. People, relationships are falling apart. We're still in it. That said, I think that the message at the end, when Benson says this was the worst day of your life and you survived, like that is, I think, a really powerful, wonderful statement. And I love this message of hope that this episode gives.
I agree. I wrote that line down as one of my favorite quotes. Usually we go the comedy route, but I really actually thought that was a very powerful, good quote that I feel like will stick with me. Sometimes it can get a little cheesy. Like when we talk, one of the lines I always think of is like, when your house burns down, you get a clear view of the sky. Like that is like not a quote that I think makes sense. This one was solid. I really liked that message and just the way that was worded.
Yeah, Jennifer in the chat says, I agree. While it did capture some truths to the situation, I don't think it added anything particularly new or thoughtful about it. That's true. Yeah, that I like this message of hope. I think that's wonderful. But we also like got a message of hope from like The Longest Journey Home, or Darkest Journey, whatever that one was called. The Ariel Winter.
There was a journey.
There was a journey.
There's a journey.
That one also ended with like, hope. So yeah, let's talk about the characters we met in Vanessa's life. Because I said it on Twitter, I'm gonna say it now. Vanessa's son Nate killed his grandmother.
That's the truth of the matter.
While I do not think that his mother needed to say you killed Nana, I think that he knows and will feel that guilt forever. And I don't know that anyone needed to like put it on him because he did it himself and he should feel it.
Yeah. It drove me crazy. I understand when you're young, you want to be going out and doing things. But if you are, no matter who you live with, you shouldn't be doing that. And when you live with your grandmother who is like immunocompromised, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I think my challenge or my issue with it is that he wasn't, first of all, he's not young. He's in college, right? So he's not a under 18 child. And it wasn't like he had to go out. It wasn't like he was going to work because they needed help. It wasn't like you know, he needed to go to wherever he was going. He wanted to go out with his friends and then was irresponsible about it.
Yeah, didn't even wear a mask.
Nate,
he
chose to put himself at risk and did not care that doing so put his grandmother at risk, and then he killed her.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah.
She
honestly,
was so sweet too. I loved that grandma. I was rooting, but I knew she was a goner. Right when they put her and Nate in the same room, I was like, she's done, which is so upsetting because she was such a good character. She was so sweet.
Yeah, no, it was clear from the get that that woman was not surviving that opening.
No. Which I will say,
yeah,
interesting opening. I mentioned that before when we like follow someone around. This is we also talked about Welcome to the Powell Motel, where it followed Lonnie, was that his name?
I think so.
Around, and then one of my favorite episodes ever, Dreams Deferred, when they follow Patricia Arquette's character like through the day. So it was interesting that they did follow this character through a stretch of time. I do like getting to know our characters in that way.
Did not include my favorite of this trope, which is Agent Provocateur, which is where you follow the girl who ends up in the suitcase. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's such a fun storytelling device that they use sometimes, especially when there's like a thought behind it. I mean, we had like the Demi Lovato song this time. We had the James Blunt song in Dreams Deferred, which I have that on my Spotify favorites because it's so good.
Let's talk about the Demi song for a second, because a lot of people were losing their mind about it on Twitter. Is Demi a big SVU fan? This is not something I'm aware of. But also, the song was recently, and by recently, I mean the last 2 episodes of Zoe's Infinite Playlist or Extraordinary Playlist, that they use that song as well. This song makes me cry, and now I've heard it 3 times on NBC, and I'd like it to stop.
They're just like, you need this, Yael. We will have you sub, regardless of which shows you watch. It's gonna happen.
Why? That's the thing about that song, is it doesn't matter what's on screen. That song just makes me cry.
That's valid.
Just thinking about it now, I'm gonna start crying. All right, so I also want to talk about Vanessa's, I guess the money guy. I don't really know what Joey Leonard's
I didn't either. Is. I was like looking for some clarity with you, and you don't know either, so that's fine.
I believe he works for whoever's giving her the business loans.
Gotcha.
He's the finance guy. Here's my question. Did we need to know that he pissed himself? Like, that was the best part, when he's like, I pissed myself. That's my favorite part of this episode. Guy.
Oh, I have another line, but I'll save it for my favorite quotes, because he's funny. He's a funny character. But I understand, like, we always see these people like really tough in hostage situations. Nah, I'm Joey. I will be peeing myself. I will be crying. Like, I would not be as strong as most of these people in these episodes.
Yeah, him having the like, I think I'm having a heart attack, so good.
Such a relatable character.
Yeah, and what's great, JNCA in the chat says, yet still donated to the GoFundMe. Right, because he's a person, right? So like, he came there on behalf of whoever, the bank. And so he's a person with a heart. I do think what's interesting, Ira, her business partner, at the end was like, they started GoFundMe and they're going to save the business. Why? I didn't think of it earlier. You guys,
that's what I'm saying.
You didn't think to fundraise?
Right. I was like, guys, where have you been?
Right. A lot of businesses have been doing that. And like, the fact that they adapted, I think, was really amazing to see how they adapted. But the fact that it didn't occur to them to like adapt in a way that their usuals, their regulars, their neighborhood, their friends, would help them out. I think it was interesting. And I do get that we have, in the end, it's a story about another woman who was used to having to take care of everybody.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, Jennifer says, I think they're that stupid. That explains the business problems. That's not fair. The business problems were the pandemic.
Yeah. Whoa.
Harsh.
Yikes,
Harsh.
real harsh. To be fair, yeah, she takes care of everyone. I feel like there's some pride involved. She doesn't want to ask for help either. She seems like a very like, I'm gonna take care of it type person too. So I feel like that could have been an aspect of, no, I'm gonna figure it out on my own.
Her tech savvy grandma murdering son.
Yeah. Why did Nate start a GoFundMe instead of going partying? You have plenty to do, Nate. You have plenty you could be doing.
Yeah, as I have friends whose parents like have a restaurant, and usually what ends up happening when they can't afford staff is the family gets roped into it.
Exactly. Nate.
Right.
Go cook some Brussels sprouts, Nate.
Eddie, you can serve people. You could play music and attract people to the restaurant. Use your skill set. Family.
Yeah, come on. Do not fall on Vanessa.
Right. She just lost her mother.
Yeah, come on. No one showed up for her until the GoFundMe.
No one showed up for her until Olivia did. There was also that really interesting scene where Vanessa's like, you haven't been around, you don't know what's going on. And then Benson's like, let me fill you in.
Let's have a little chat, shall we? I've lost everyone in my life, Vanessa.
Right. So she brings up Tucker again. I think Vanessa needs to learn to read the room with I don't know what you did, but win him back. Girl, he dead.
Yeah, that's not happening, Vanessa. Yep, we have him again. My favorite. He's fine. I shouldn't say that. I have no hatred towards it. It's just not my personal fave, my personal OTP.
I've been thinking about it. And this whole thing that her and Tucker were serious. Yes, they went to Paris with Noah together. But if we do recall, she and Cassidy moved in together.
That's what I am saying. I feel like it's kind of disrespectful that we're not mentioning him at all, ever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with Stabler back, I really would like to see that triangle explode. Anyway, that's the Vanessa storyline. Oh, I needed to give some amazing actor shout outs because the casting this episode was fantastic. Sarita Chowdhury, who played Vanessa, is amazing. I love her. If I remember correctly, I'm going to check this before I say it out loud. I'm pretty sure she was in Homeland and played she played what's his name, Mandy Patinkin's wife. She's also from Jessica Jones. Yes, she was in Homeland. Okay. And then we have Raphael Feldman, who played Ira. Andrew Polka played Leonard, Joey Leonard.
He's great.
Really amazing. Willing to play a character who says, I pissed myself. Great.
I feel like he's such a fun character, honestly. Like, just a ball of anxiety. Like, I'm not even acting at this point. Like, that's just me.
And of course, Manny Perez, who played Sergeant Hagen, the people outside. This character made me laugh so much because he was such a like a New York cop. Like, this is, first day, this is New York cop. And he just sounded so New York cop and like didn't have time for Garland and was like, we don't have time for this. Forget about it.
Forget about it. Yeah, he was funny.
I loved him. All right. I think we have to also discuss other things that happened in this episode.
I think we do.
Okay.
I think you're right.
So let's talk about what's going on with Rollins and Carissi. Big Jim is in New York now. She drove him to the city. She's taken care of him. Carissi, being a good friend and brother figure, was there to help.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what brothers are for. I do think it's cute, the idea that Jim thought that they were a couple, the fact that Amberlynn was rudely offensive about them being a couple.
Amberlynn, absolute legend.
And of course, he stands up his girlfriend, Nicole, which he has yet to tell Rollins about. Honestly, with how how gossipy Finn has been lately, I'm sure that she knows already.
Honestly though.
Yeah. So I do enjoy um the storyline of Rollins dealing with her dad. I think that's interesting. I think the moment where she says, "I'm not ready to be the adult," and Carissi points out that she's been the adult for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
She's always the adult, is what we learned, right? Like her family is incapable of doing anything without her.
Yeah, definitely. I've always liked her backstory and her family situation because it's so chaotic, and obviously Olivia had like a very chaotic backstory. What am I trying to say? I don't know.
I don't know.
Backstory. Yeah. I mean, her family situation was like also messed up, but now she's kind of alone. And Rollins is like living it. There's so many factors and characters, and one is just more absurd than the next. I mean, I thought Kim was cray. Now we have Amber Lynn coming in here with her little puffy blue coat. And I think it's always fun to watch her try to navigate that because she definitely, I think, has a lot of similarities with them, but it's also vastly different than the people she grew up with.
Yeah, I think Amberlyn, I assume we won't be seeing again. I really love the way Rollins got rid of her. Like, I absolutely love that. That felt like good Rollins right there.
Peak Rollins, yeah.
Yeah. Especially because it like Amberlyn, like apparently they're not married legally. Like, okay.
There's a bit of a common law first divorce.
Yeah. So we have questions about Kim's baby. So Rollins' mom is raising Kim's child, I believe. And as we heard in this episode, currently babysitting whatever Rollins' kids are.
Jesse and something else.
Billy.
Yeah, and that sounds right.
Great.
Her kids.
Offspring. They're with the grandmother. That grandmother still alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like this, you know, seeing what's going on with that. I think it's interesting that none of the baby daddies are involved, but whatever. I want to see them go head to head. I do like this story. I do like seeing Rollins having to grow up because she, you know, as much as she has always been the adult of her family, she has backslid a lot. We've seen that, and we've seen her be immature and do, you know, not do the right thing. And so to see her now, like she has to be the adult all the time. She can't have fun anymore.
Yeah, it's always crazy to me to think about how she's been here for almost 10 years, but she still kind of feels like the newbie to me in some ways, which just isn't true anymore. So it's fun to see her be more of a veteran on this team. Like I always think of, I mean, Kat's obviously like the newest, but Carissi's like newer than Rollins, and then Nick has come and gone. So it's so interesting. She's almost been on the show as long as Elliot was his first time here, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that weird? Because it's just, and that's not, I don't know, she still feels like the new girl to me in some ways.
I agree. And I think it's interesting. I think it was like last episode or the one before where, or maybe it was the crossover, where she was saying like it took us some time to get some trust. And I think that's so interesting, especially because she pulled the same crap that Olivia pulled, but we've talked about that. Speaking of Stabler, let's get to, I'm going to name this our segment now that we have to do it every week, the Stabler of it all.
Love it.
For those who aren't watching Organized Crime, here's what you need to know. Kathleen reaches out to Olivia for help. I honestly was loving this scene because if you recall, like Olivia was there for Kathleen when she was dealing with her issues. So it was really nice to see that she still reaches out to her. The help she needs is to do an intervention. The intervention goes poorly, which is not a surprise because we know Stabler. And he says 3 words that everyone's been waiting for forever, and then takes some time and then elaborate.
Not so, like a long time. There's a long pause there. It's such an interesting scene.
Yeah,
and so different than anything we've seen on it, like the Law and Order universe. I feel like,
unfortunately, because of the way StreamYard works, I cannot play it with sound for you all, but because you can't hear it. But there are captions, or there were captions. Let me turn on the captions. Yeah. There it is.
Should I act it out?
Nope, we can just let it play. You all can read it if you want to. So my favorite part is when, Olivia's like, or they're like, this is an intervention. And Eli needs to clarify that we don't think you're an addict.
Eli's fun. Here's the thing. Kathleen has always been, I feel like, the superior Stabler child. Like, she's the most interesting and has the most kind of personality. But I'm liking Eli lately. he's kind of fun. Isn't he supposed to be like 14 though?
Yeah, I believe so.
He does not read 14 to me though. I will say that.
I'm sorry. That's the part you have issue with.
I know there's more. I know he doesn't look like the baby.
Not just he doesn't look like the baby. All of them are like blondes.
Maybe that's intentional.
Yeah, I don't think he's Elliot's kid.
That's the thing. Maybe it's intentional. I've read so many theories. I'm not going to repeat them all because there's a lot that I've read, but people have some interesting predictions, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. Because is Kathy more,
wait for it. He already said the first part. We're still waiting for him to say the second part.
Yeah, everyone's faces. I love all of you.
Yeah.
But people are a little suspicious that Kathy's maybe more than who she appears, which should be interesting to me.
All right, so that was it. For those who missed it, I will be tweeting out, and we'll tell you where to find that in just a bit. For those who are listening to the audio version only, you're gonna want to go to Twitter and watch this.
Yeah.
Because this felt like the most fan baity thing I've ever seen. But we'll see. Yeah, the intervention does not go well. Shock. Amber in the chat says, "Do they ever meet Stabler?" Why the flippin' fuck do they think he would at all be receptive to an intervention?
Good point. Good point that you raised.
Great question. Yeah. And Chris in the chat says the facial expressions on Elliot. Honestly, if you've watched Chris Maloney over on Happy, and he makes the best facial expressions.
That man went through so many emotions between the two lines. It's insane. I love the way they shot it. Like, we see everyone's faces, we see his face. I'm like, this is just pure chaos.
Yeah. So that is the Stabler of it all. All right. So we'll get to what's happening next episode. But first, as a reminder, episode May 13th is another crossover. So we will be watching both, and anything that is relevant to SVU that happens on organized crime, we will discuss on the show. But we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the plan for the future episodes. Let's talk about some of our best lines. Do we have some favorite lines, Taylor?
I have several, yeah. Speaking of Joey, this is the one I was going to mention earlier. Garland's like, Joey's like, she has a gun. Garland's like, what kind of gun? What do I know from guns? Like, that would be me. Like, a black one? I don't know. It was a gun, which I thought was really funny. I love the juxtaposition of Olivia. I wish I could give you a hug. Vanessa pulling a gun on her immediately after she says that. I'm like, that's me. I don't like being touched. Like, that's pretty relatable content. I loved anything that Rollins said to Amberlynn and vice versa, but that kind of caretaking is going to age you real fast. I was like, get her. That was really funny. One of my friends, Kelsey, tweeted one of the funniest quotes. She was looking on, so they had like the prices of all of the stuff in the restaurant, And she was like, she charged $12 for Brussels sprouts, and no wonder her restaurant went under. Like, listen, that's kind of fair. Like, that is a pretty LA, New York price for like
I was
high-end Brussels
about to
sprouts.
say, I'm pretty
However-
sure I paid $12 for Brussels sprouts last week.
However, that cracked me up because I was like, you have a point. That maybe lower it from $12 for a side of Brussels sprouts. So, Kelsey, that was a hilarious quote. Made me laugh. Had to share that here.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, so this episode was not, well, not that I'm aware of, was it ripped from headline? I honestly didn't look because I don't think it was. Also,
ripped from a headline? It was ripped from every headline pretty much, right?
Right. Also, like, nothing happened. What headline?
Yeah.
Businesses going under. Yeah.
Ripped from everyone's lives.
Right. Zach in the chat says a living cat acting out the hostage situation and Liz screaming, I don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that I like that scene. I like that they do it in a theater, like a straight up full theater too. I was like the dramatics of it all.
I really liked that. I don't believe, I'm like trying to think if Benson was still training, Cragen would not be going with her to this training.
Whatever, as any excuse to get Olivia and Kat to share a scene, I'm here for it because I think they're so fun together. Because Kat is just younger her, like 100%. So it's always fun to see them side by side.
That's true. All right. If you have never seen our show before, every week we do a fun poll that is related to the episode, and we'll tell you where to find that in a bit. But Taylor, tell us about the poll.
Yes. So last week we asked you guys what your favorite episode with a live stream was. And we have a tie for third place, and that is Spectacle, which is season 12, episode 16. And the one we discussed last week, Our Words Will Not Be Heard, came in at third place. In second place, we have Intimidation Game, a classic. That got 28.6% of the vote. And in first place, Friending Emily with 33.3%.
Wow.
I think it's the correct decision. Friending Emily, great episode.
I love that episode.
It's a great one. This week, because we have so many Olivia walks into a hostage situation episodes, we actually couldn't even fit all of them into this poll. So if you have another favorite, drop it in the comments. But right now, I'm so offended that my favorite is in last place, but maybe you guys will change that for me. But we have Florida, which is season 8, episode 19. That is the one where we meet Simon. All of this stuff with pretty much just Simon goes down, I would say.
So this is the
you
second.
You watched it last night.
I did watch it last night. It happened to be on, and I meant to go to bed. So this is the second time that we've seen Simon,
Okay.
And it is when the captain from Jersey is framing him for raping her sister when they were younger and some other woman. And in the end, we are at his childhood home where he takes the Jersey captain hostage, and then Benson has to talk him down and gets the captain to admit that she framed him.
Yes, it's a pretty intense one. That's currently in third place, tied with my favorite, Father Shadow, season 13, episode 13. That is like one of the best, like intense hostage situations. I feel like it's the one where isn't Miranda Lambert in it at the beginning too?
Yeah. Yep.
That's the one. That's how I always think to describe it. But Olivia walks in. He's from Shameless, I believe, the redheaded kid.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's like an actually very intense one, I think, and I love that one a lot. We also have Townhouse Incident, which is currently in the lead. That's season 17, episode 11. Yeah, would you like to describe that one for us?
Yeah, so Townhouse Incident is the one where Lucy, who takes care of Noah, also takes care of this other family and comes and is like, Olivia, I'm really worried. You should go check on this family. And she does. And they're being held hostage by 3 people, including one who's like super high on drugs because they need money. They get money from the bank. And so like the mom goes out. Anyway, there's like a really horrific scene where Benson is taking care of the like young boy while the teenage daughter is being assaulted.
Yeah.
That one is intense.
That is a very intense one too. And then of course we have In the year we all fell down, which is today's episode that we just talked about, and that's
Kind
currently
of.
in second place. So we will see which one comes out victorious. Father Shadow, but we'll see.
And again, if you can think of others, I already listed a different one that my vote's going towards, and we'll read those to you next time.
Correct.
We have a new segment here where we play What Did We Learn? And we all have to learn something from this episode. What did I learn this episode?
I learned about the existence of Amber Lynn.
That's fair. That is fair. That's fair. What did I learn? I learned.
We learned some stuff about Carissy's parents.
That's true.
Cute stuff. That
we did learn that. All right, here's what I learned. I'm gonna say it anyway.
I'm ready.
Because you brought up Carissy's parents. I learned that Carissy's dad is fat phobic.
Yeah, didn't love that line.
Yeah.
I want to see them. I'd like to meet Carissy's parents, I think.
Yeah. Sorry to bum out the whole stream. That's
You're
what
right,
I learned.
though. I didn't like that line. But I like that his mom cooks all day because that checks out for me.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So, okay. Here is what's happening next week because there is no new episode, but we are doing a very special arc next week. Sarah Storm, who played Bronwyn, Bronwyn you may remember as our favorite redheaded juror, who helped not only William Lewis escape, but also Rudnick and Yates escape. Sarah Storm is going to be joining us next week to discuss her entire arc. So here are the episodes that we will be discussing in broad strokes. So we have season 15, episode 10, Psychotherapist. That is the Lewis trial episode. Season 15, episode 20, Beast's Obsession. That is Lewis's escape. Season 15, episode 21, Postmortem Blues. That is after he's dead. Season 17, episode 2, Criminal Pathology. I believe we see her in this one, but this is one of the Yates Rudnick episodes. And then season 17, episode 14, Nationwide Manhunt. And that is when Yates and Rudnick escape.
Yeah.
So those are the episodes that she is in. Again, I will make that list available somehow for us so that you have until next Sunday to watch these 5 episodes because we're going to have Sarah Storm, aka Bronwyn, join us on our stream. I'm so excited.
I love her. Everyone knows these aren't my favorite episodes, but she is one of my favorite people. So I'm still gonna have a good time. We're all gonna have a good time.
Right. We're gonna have a good time. We're not gonna go too in depth into the Lewises of it. Because some people don't like those. I'm so excited that people are Amber in the chat says yeah.
Yes. We love Miss Cupcake.
Yeah. So great. Yeah. So that's what we're doing next week. And then next week I will tell you what we're going to be doing the week after. But as a reminder, again, May 13th is a crossover with organized crime. So we'll work around that.
Which is so funny because I feel like so many of these have been like unofficial crossover.
Right. So let's talk about that because I know that I saw someone in the chat saying this and I know a lot of theories based on the promo and what's going on with what's the storyline for organized crime. It seems like as Benson, reminded herself that she lost her brother recently in an overdose, even though he never did drugs before. The theory, I believe, the ongoing theory, I saw someone put it in the chat. And I want to bring it up. I want to give you credit. Where is it? So the theory is that the drugs that Simon overdosed on have something to do with Dylan McDermott's character over on organized crime. And so that's how we're going to do that. crossover. That's what the theory is.
I think that's a good theory.
Oh, we have a theory coming in from JNCA who says, I suspect they're going to move Carissi to organized crime next season since that show doesn't have a law. First of all, how dare you? And second of all, he did make a little appearance in organized crime this week, and I think we'll make more appearances, but honestly, it does not really have anything to do with SVU, so I didn't bring it up.
They're right that it doesn't really have the law part yet.
I mean, that's because so far it's just Stabler chasing the murderer of his wife.
Right. But that is interesting on a show called Law and Order.
It's also interesting on a show called Organized Crime. Just saying. I see. The suggestion then from JNCA is this. Maybe they'll bring Barba back. I'd be okay.
Don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Look, if they put Barba with Stabler on his show,
I'd like that.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I would like that. As long as it's back.
Right.
Some capacity.
Look, I'm watching it.
Create a new show for Barba. Damn, come on.
So before organized crime was supposed to happen, if you may recall, there was a bunch of discussion about hate crimes, and we had suggested Barba over on hate crimes.
Yeah,
I still think that's a great idea. But I also think that they should be making Khaldun part of our team.
Me too. There's so many people that were just like, bring them on full time. Phoebe, put her somewhere. Come on.
Phoebe's advice. She's busy.
Okay, well, show me that. I love her.
That's true. We got her for a second last episode, and I was disappointed she wasn't part of it. Anyway, we're just rambling about SVU now.
It's like, whatever. That's the point. That's what you come here for.
For our random thoughts on SVU.
Yeah.
I also want to give a little quick shout out to Kathy Dobie, who wrote this story with Warren Light and Julie Martin, because amazing. And Chris Buckley in the chat says, yes, Khaldun, don't know spell it. Funny, you spelt it like Calhoun, who is the lawyer.
It's not a bad instinct.
But it's not a bad instinct. Rita Calhoun.
She's great. Her. Yeah, she's wonderful. I mean, she's not. She's been horrible, but
the best. She's my favorite ever since the moment where she looks at Rollins' child and goes, "Oh, look, a baby," and then keeps going.
She's my favorite too.
That's when I fell in love.
She's wonderful. We love her.
All right. Anybody else I wanted to give shout outs to? Just remember that Nate killed his grandmother.
Yeah.
Where is
gotta
the
go there again. You're spitting back, but at what cost?
I want it noted. I want it on the record.
On the record.
Okay, great.
Nate,
I think we have nothing. Back. We have nothing else to say about this episode. It happened.
Go buy your $12 Brussels sprouts. Let's go. Let's support Vanessa.
But yeah, support local businesses. Eat local.
Yeah.
I think that's what we learned, is that we should all be better.
Good. No, that's a good message. It's a good message.
And that there's hope. Speaking of hope, let me give you the hotline one more time.
Wow, that segue was so smooth.
Thank you. I didn't see it coming in when I did it. 1-800-656-4673. 1-800-656-4673. Also, they have an anonymous chat online that you can check out. I think that's it. I miss Felicia, and I'm sad that she wasn't here to give us her thoughts as well.
Same.
Because I don't know how she felt about this episode.
I know. We'll have to ask her. Maybe we'll catch up next week. Maybe
we'll do a special. Also, we know that they've finished filming, or they were filming the finale. So they're getting close to wrapping the season, which means that we'll be doing older episodes again soon. And as always, we would love your thoughts on older episods.
I think someone just commented babes.
Oh, did they? Did they, Taylor? Sure.
Yeah. I saw it come in. So I think it's deleted weirdly, but yeah.
Sure. We will be doing Babes this summer. But I will take some suggestions from anybody for older episodes. We could do a whole Simon arc if we want to. We'll see how this arc thing works, and if that works out, then we'll do more.
Fun, I like that.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? I feel like we just rambled.
And that's okay. Hey, I love you. I love all of you.
I was waiting for the pause and all the faces.
I know. I didn't know if our audio listeners would want that pause. But for dramatic effect, maybe they did. Maybe we should have kept it in.
It was the longest pause.
Lengthy.
Also, again, I will retweet that, but I'll tell you where to do that right now. Taylor, where can everyone find you in the poll?
Yes, you guys can find me and the poll on Twitter at alphabet_and. You can also find me on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
Awesome. I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. I will be sharing that scene in case you somehow have not seen it. Don't you worry. I'll be sharing it on Twitter right after this show. Also, Felicia is usually with us. She is at It's Felicia Michell on Instagram or at It's Felicia on Air on Twitter, but she doesn't really use her Twitter. So there's that.
I've been using it more.
That's true. Thank you so much to everybody who was here live. Amber, Jennifer, Chris Buckley, JNCA, reading is hard. I also saw Daryl was here. Zach is here. Arizona, Kenaton Potter Gray. I'm so sorry. Oh, you're the one who said it. I was looking for this tweet. The brother of Olivia was killed by the organized crime. That is the theory that people are going with right now. So good. Great. Danny Reacts was here. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Yeah, cool. That's it. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.